We are back, guys. We are back going live, answering some of your questions right now. If you missed the last stream, we were just talking about how medicine is a long journey and life is a long journey and self improvement is a long journey, but you have to work every day, step by step, and it all starts with taking one step towards getting closer to your future. All right, so major, I think it's UE. How do I get a research position and publication at UCI? I'm an undergrad. Well, that's a big, broad, general question. But how do you get a research position? Persistence. So it's about being strategic about it, right? And so if you were going to go get any kind of other position, and this is the way you got to look at it, guys. It's not just about being a pre-med or being anything. It's about being a success. And success in certain areas in life and in all areas of life are traditionally the same factors that go into success in other areas. So look at it like this. If you wanted to get a girlfriend, right? If you wanted a girl to date you, right? Isn't that the same as going to get a research position? You want a research position to take you in. So how does that happen? How do you get that to happen? Well, the first step would probably be you want to figure out a little something about the girl. What is she interested in? What is she looking for in a man? Right? And then try to become that man, right? Be informed about that and then make friends, right? First thing is make contact. If you're gonna make contact with a girl, gotta have something appealing to say to her. So as that translates to research, right? Research the lab, figure out what they do, learn about it a little bit before you just send blanket emails. Hey, can I get in your lab? Because they get 1,000 of those. But if you can say something intelligent about their lab when you ask them, can I get in your lab? Then you're much more likely to be successful. Additionally, if once you get there, you're dressed appropriately, you speak professionally, right? You seem nice, you seem smiley. Those are all things that labs would want and might keep you around in that lab. So how do you get a clinical research position? It starts with that. There's a billion other things you can do, and I have a whole system for it. But think about it, right? You guys can all be your own productivity expert. You can all be your own person to get yourself somewhere. Just sit down and analyze it and think about it and go about being strategic and being different from the way that other people are doing it, right? Because everyone's going to mass market and send out a billion emails to different research labs, and that's not effective because then you're one of a billion in the crowd. Caitlin, do medical schools appreciate if you have a desire for family medicine already going in? I want to own my own direct pay practice. So, Caitlin, two things about that. One, medical schools do appreciate if you know what you want to go into, what specialty you want to go into when you get there, if you want to go into primary care. And this is because a lot of schools actually have specialty primary care programs to actually help people get into primary care. And they want to promote that because primary care providers are more scarce than specialty providers. And the reason that is because the pay is lower. And so they know it's hard to get those positions. And it's doubly hard to get primary care physicians to go to disadvantaged areas that don't have physicians. And so if you are interested in going into a disadvantaged area and being primary care, you can even go into even more specialized programs. And what's cool about both of those programs, whether it's primary care only or it's primary care and disadvantaged, is that they actually have nice financial aid packets. They have special programs that actually help you to facilitate that. So if you want to be a family practice provider, setting up your own like direct pay system where you're helping people who necessarily can't get access to care, they have business classes for you. They have public health classes for you so you can understand the dynamics of that population and how to best serve them in terms of running a clinic. So there's all kind of programs like that. The Prime program is one that comes to my mind. UCLA has the Drew medical program. I'm out here on the West Coast, but Prime is a big one. But there's tons of programs out there. So what I would do is just Google and see what they are. But I think in terms of helping you in admissions, I don't think necessarily having a family medicine focus is going to help you in admissions. But what will help you in admissions is if you have a mission and a reason and a purpose behind that family of medicine, because then it'll clarify who you are as an applicant coming in and what you have to offer that school and how you'll better that school going forward. And no, not SDN when you Google. What I mean is if you Google these programs, actual medical schools will have websites up about these programs. So if you Google primary care medical school program, you're going to get lots of official links, not studentdoctor.net. Please. Don't start that studentdoctor.net. Don't get me fired up on here, guys. All right, Reaper, what up? Hamza says, I don't have full use of my left hand. Will I meet the technical standards for med school? And will my career options be severely limited? So Hamza, if you don't have full use of your left hand, that is not a absolute killer for medical school. It's not an absolute killer for a lot of specialties. However, specialties that require the use of two hands, you will not be able to do. So you'll have to pick a specialty where you don't have to use both your hands. And this actually is very common. There's, like I was just talking kind of in the last video, there's lots of physicians who have multiple types of disabilities. So there's actually some not quad, paraplegic physicians who are in wheelchairs and they serve patients just to find without the use of their legs. Same thing, there's physicians with one arm, there's physicians with non-functional arms, with smaller arms, all these different types of things. Actually, at Stanford, there was a physician, and he actually was born prematurely and had some birth defects, and he is, what I don't know what you call it, severely disfigured, and doesn't have full function of all of his limbs. And at the same time, he's still a physician, he's still an attending, he's still incredibly bright, and he's helping patients. So you just have to find a specialty where you don't need full use of your facilities. In his case, he's in one of the primary care specialties. And so you can do that as long as you have a pathway. Actually, no, he's not in primary care. He was a renal attending, so a nephrologist. And so he didn't need the use of his limbs as much as you would in some other specialties. So you can't be doing anesthesia's out for you, surgery's out for you, those kind of things. But there are plenty of specialties that are open to you, and schools won't discriminate you against you for that left hand. So you absolutely can meet the technical criteria. Hi, Allie. The Boosh. Please talk about undergrad students who transfer from a less prestigious to a more prestigious university. Does the time at the less prestigious place look bad when applying? So that's a bad question. I mean, it's a common question, but it's one of those SDN type questions. So if you transfer from a less prestigious university to a more prestigious university, if you go and watch my video on university prestige, you'll see that university prestige doesn't matter a whole bunch, other than if you come from a top program, you're going to get kind of that nudge. So when you come from a Stanford university, people are going to assume that you're a good student because you got into Stanford, right? So going to a more prestigious university helps you that way. The other way it helps you is because you'll have more resources. That being said, you can easily overcome going to a less prestigious university by just working hard. So you can go to Ivy League schools. There's plenty of people who are from Cal State schools that are at Ivy Leagues. I went to Stanford with some students who were Cal State undergrad students. So nobody cares about your prestige. They care if you deliver. So when you transfer or whatever, so people who do that, who are like, oh, I'm at one school, but I'm going to transfer because I have the opportunity to go to a more prestigious school. Why would you do that? Think about it. Remember, we talked about being analytical and being strategic. If you're at one school and you transfer strictly because the other school is more prestigious, what have you just done to yourself? You now have to establish an entire new network in terms of your research, in terms of the people you hang out with, in terms of your support systems, all these types of things. So why in the world would you want to transfer colleges just for some prestige? Doesn't make any sense, right? It's like why would you move, right? It's a major life change. So instead, I would focus on doing well at the university you're at now, unless there's some actual reason why you need to change universities. So they don't offer something that you want or need and you can't get access to it another way, then maybe transfer. But people who do this, and people do this all the time, and it doesn't help you. So don't just do that. Oh, I'm at this school, but I had the opportunity to go to Harvard for my last 2 years, and it's going to make all the difference on my application. It's kind of, again, we were talking about this in the last video. 1,000 miles, a single step. So you think that one little thing is going to be the difference in your application. It's not. It's going to be how you performed in all those years you were at both schools. So perform, deliver, and you don't have to worry about what school you went to or what prestige you went to. I went to UC Irvine. I said this 1,000 times. It's the butt of UCs, right? Because there's UCLA and UC Berkeley. Everyone thinks, oh, these are the big dog programs, UCLA, UC Berkeley. If you're not at those UCs, you're at a lower tier UC. I went to UCI and balled out, had a wonderful time there. It was extremely supportive environment. It was great. I made great friends. The campus is beautiful, humongous trees, which I love. It's very relaxing to me. It was amazing. And had I gone to one of those other schools, I might not have been where I was. But either way, I balled out and I'm at Stanford Medical School. So ball out and don't worry about your school prestige. Because, right, delivering, performance, productivity trumps everything else. Be productive. Hello, Keglia. Casey, what is up? Should I still submit my application June 1st when I'm going to take summer classes? My problem next year. Should I still submit my application on June 1st? Oh, if you're taking summer school classes. No, unless you think those. So yes and no. So if those summer classes are requirements for medical school, then why would you apply before you have them? Secondly, so that's the one side. The other side is if you don't need those classes for medical school, you're strictly taking them to finish your graduate degree, then you don't need all those grades on your transcript. Are 3 little grades really going to affect your GPA? Not really. So unless they're requirements for medical school, then you can apply before you finish all your classes. But on the flip side of that, some of you guys, right, you have like a 3.3 GPA, which is like that little borderline GPA. 3 more classes or 4 more classes you're taking in the summer might actually be beneficial for you because it might improve that uptrend. So why not wait an additional year and have all the grades you can on your transcript? In addition, what if you waited the following year and you took more classes in the fall and the winter, and instead of having just 4 classes, you had 6, 8, 10 classes to really make that bump in that GPA? So these little things, right? It's not just one thing, it's multiple classes, multiple things to improve your chances of getting in. If that makes sense to you guys, give me a like. If these 4 questions I've answered, if that all makes sense and that's helpful to you, like this video right now, the few of us that are on here. So Eric asks, hey Andre, for PA schools and med schools, does strong upward trend replace a bad first year GPA? So that's kind of like what I was just talking about. So upward trends are hugely important because the upward trend reflects who you are now, not who you were in the past. Nobody is going to care about your first year grades if the other 3 or 4 years is amazing and you continue to get better. So again, it's not the one thing, right? It's 1,000 miles. It's all the things that come together. So if you had a bad first year, you follow it up with a mediocre second year, slightly less mediocre third year, and then a good senior year, then that's really not going to be that great. But if you have a bad freshman year and then you make strides sophomore year and then you bust out an amazing junior and senior year, that's going to be a big difference on your application. So it's that cumulative process of getting better. So yes, the uptrend is very important in medical school admissions. So Nina says, "Hi, Dr. Pinesett. Will you make a video about reading strategies and flashcard making / method? Thank you." So Nina, why are you asking me this question? You already know the answer to that. So our actual next webinar, so Nina's in my study class. Our next webinar is reading strategies, and then the webinar after that will be on effective flashcard making. So Nina, I got you covered because I knew you wanted that. So that's going to be the next 2 webinars: is how to read effectively, and then also flashcarding for professionals. So expert level flashcarding. Kaylin, I also have you heard about opioid drug overdose being the leading cause of death among adults under 50. What are your thoughts? Well, you know what's interesting about this? I was just having a conversation about this today. So I play with narcotics all day, every day. I give patients narcotics all the time. So I mentioned today I was late getting on here because I was doing a emergency C-section and we had to do a spinal anesthesia. And so we actually had to put morphine and fentanyl into this lady's back. And so I deal with narcotics all day. And what's interesting, and this is very kind of cool, is that there's been an increase in the number of deaths from drug overdoses, opioids, sorry, not opioids, heroin, and also other medications, including meth, all these things. And the reason deaths are actually increasing is that people are lacing their street drugs with prescription pharmaceuticals. And so the increase in opioid deaths is actually not from people taking straight opioid pills or straight opioids. It's actually because they're mixing them with their street drugs. And the enhanced effect of both of those together, right, the synergistic effects, is actually more than what people would think they are. And so people are overdosing and going completely apneic and suffocating to death, basically. So I think that that's interesting. I think that it's a problem in our society that everybody's in pain and everyone's depressed and everybody's constantly trying to be on Instagram and, meet up with Instagram lives when people's lives are not Instagram. Instagram's the fakest, right behind studentdoctor.net. It's like the fakest place on the internet. So I think once as a society we start getting back to a place where people can just be themselves and people can show their flaws and be honest about things, then people will be a lot less depressed, a lot less people on drugs, and then we can start, seeing that death rate come down. All right, hello 911 music freak. Grace says, "Do you know any of your workmates or classmates with shortcomings as ADD, ADHD, dyslexia? Is the workload in med school feasible for such people?" So Grace, that's a good question. Again, learning disabilities, right? You can have all kind of learning disabilities. I know tons of people with learning disabilities who are in medical school or who are doctors. But this is the big one, right? This is the big one. You have to absolutely 1,000% have a plan for how you're going to overcome your disability. So I work with students with disabilities all the time and help them thrive in the classroom. And we do it by coming up with a game plan that works around their disadvantage and doesn't just say, hey, I have a disadvantage, so I'm just going to be. No. You have to have a plan to either improve that disability or work around that disability. I just talked about the previous video, right? So again, all these questions kind of come in a loop. I'm a slow reader. I couldn't really improve that, so I worked around it. So if you're dyslexic, if you're ADD, right? So the biggest thing I tell for ADHD people, ADD people, number one thing is these people try to sit down for study for 5 hours straight. You're ADD for a reason, right? Attention deficit disorder. So why then, if you have lapses in attention, would you try to sit down for 5 hours straight and study? So the very first thing that's going to improve your study productivity is to sit down in 30-minute intervals. Because now you're not fighting yourself all day trying to sit there in a chair, 30-minute interval, 30-minute break, 30-minute interval, 30-minute break. And now you're working with your ADD and working around your ADD as opposed to fighting your ADD. Simple enough. All right, we're going to do one more question, guys. Okay, so Corey said, hey, Dr. Pinesett, I have a 4-month-old baby girl, and I'm going into my junior year pre-med. Your best advice. Well, congratulations, Casey. Or Corey, I'm sorry. Congratulations. Kids are amazing. My kid is amazing. Changed my life. Really puts things in perspective. My advice would be get support. So check out, I have 2 videos on having families in medicine, but get support around you and check out those videos. We'll do one more question so I don't spend time, but my best advice is watch those videos and get lots of support, get a plan in place to succeed despite having a child. Robin says, would you advise doing a master's program if you don't want to take a gap year and are somewhat interested in the program? So Robin, that's a terrible question to ask on my channel, because what is my channel about, guys? It's about passion. It's about really going 100,000% into things. And so saying to me that you're somewhat interested in the program is kind of weak. So either you're all in or you're not all in. Master's program is expensive. There's a lot better ways you can spend your money doing something you're passionate about than to do some half-assed masters because you might have probably could have been interested in public health. Either you are interested in public health or you're not. If you're not, then don't do it. So Eleanor said, how important is it to enter a prestigious medical school? More than an undergrad, entering a prestigious medical school, I think actually is really important. And it's because going out of medical school, there's very little criteria for people to judge you on other than your step 1 scores. So if you go to a prestigious university, you're going to be there with people who can make calls on your behalf. And unlike medical school admissions, people think, oh, this person's going to call for me. It doesn't have a huge sway unless that person, it literally is a big dog who's like really tight with the admissions committee. In residency, right, when you're going from medical school to residency, it's actually a lot different than that, in that everyone's kind of tied together. So when you're getting someone to make a call on your behalf, like for anesthesia, these people are in a brotherhood of anesthesiologists, so they respect each other. So when someone calls on your behalf, that actually really makes a big difference. So having big dogs at prestigious universities call for your residency is a huge thing. So good question. All right, we'll do one more. I'm feeling generous today. We'll do one more question and then we're out of here. So whose question is next? Who got in under the gun? And then again, guys, if you don't get your questions answered on here, you can always email them to me. Or even better, let's start doing this. That way we link the videos together. Leave a comment on this video after it gets posted, right? So, because these comments all disappear once the live video is done. But after the video is done, right, and we're not live anymore, leave a comment down in the comment box and let me know what your question is. And I'm going to start getting back to these more frequently kind of in midsummer. So just leave the comments there. We'll get back to it and get your question answered. So one more question. Sorry about my finger being in the screen there. Okay, Ali said, I want to wait until everything is perfect and be a better student, just like you mentioned before. However, how can I keep myself from rushing and being depressed? So, Ali, that's a great question. A lot of you guys, like I said, it's artificial pressure. And this is actually a really good segue. So, it's hilarious as heck today. So, I had a medical student with me today. And in every phase of life, we're always the center of our own universe. So we always feel like, right, there's 1,000 eyeballs on us. Everybody's judging us. Everyone cares about what's happening, right? It's like when you go give a presentation. You're in class. You're like, oh my gosh, I have to give my presentation in class. Even though everyone has to give a presentation, they only care about my presentation. And if it's bad, people are going to judge me. They're not going to be my friends anymore. Right? That's how we feel. And so in medical school, you're going to feel this need to show out and be super impressive. And you're going to feel all this pressure to know everything. And it was hilarious because this medical student today was like practically, literally, this guy was like shaking, like trying to impress me, like, and he was so nervous. I was like, buddy, just relax. I'm like, let me let you on a little secret. He was a brand new, he was just transitioning into his first, this is his first clinical rotation. And I was like, buddy, listen, I'm going to let you in a super secret that's going to help you out as a medical student. I'm a resident. I'm going to evaluate you. I don't really care about you impressing me. If you're nice, you show up on time, I'm pretty much going to give you high marks. But all I care about is that you don't make my day more difficult. So don't drop the patient. Don't push the wrong drug, right? Keep it simple. And so I want to encourage you guys, right? You put all this pressure on yourself to finish early, to be prepared, to do everything the way everyone else is doing. Don't. That's artificial pressure, right? To meet these expectations that are unrealistic. You have your own path. Do what you do. And we just talked about, right, your gap year. So if you're a person who's not going to apply straight, people can get depressed in that gap year if they're not doing something they're passionate about. So when you take a gap year, make sure you have a plan to do something that you're actually passionate about. That way you can keep your fire burning. You can be excited about the future, right? So for me, I had a gap year. You know what I spent my gap year doing? Tutoring. Because I love tutoring. I spent my gap year tutoring, and I took a bunch of trips, and I tutored. Because I love to travel and I love to tutor. The two T's of Andre Pinesett's life: traveling and tutoring. Okay, and toddlers. I guess now I have three T's: traveling, tutoring, and toddlers. All right, so that's how you stop from being depressed: is you find your passions and you live your passions. So for me, right, so we're going to continue for 1 second on this question because this is actually a good question. For me, residency is super depressing. I freaking hate going to work for residency. It's terrible, right? Because I work long hours for absolutely no reason when I could actually be learning more functional things at home about anesthesia. But, a whole topic for another day. But residency training is a farce. It's terrible. So there's lots. It's easy to get depressed in residency. So what did I do, right? I got a strategic plan together to stave off depression. What's my plan? Talking to you guys, working with you guys. Because my passion, right? What do we say? Traveling, tutoring, and toddlers. My passion is talking to students, engaging with students, and helping students be better. It feels incredible when someone thought something was impossible and you show them it is possible. Oh, you thought you couldn't do this? Let me show you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Boom, bam. That to me makes me feel excellent. And so I found a way to live my passion during residency when I would feel depressed if I wasn't doing this. And so that was just me staving off depression. So me on here is just like therapy right now. It's reverse therapy. I'm helping you, yes, but really I'm helping myself with some therapy to stave off my residency depression by working with students. So I hope that answers your question, Ali. That's actually a really good question because depression, anxiety, feelings of sadness, all this stuff is so prevalent because premeds want so badly. They put so much pressure on themselves, or their parents putting pressure on them, all this stuff. Don't, guys. It is what it is. Just go. All right. So have a great evening, guys. If again, like I said, if I didn't answer your question, send me an email, put it in the box below and get your question answered. And then, yeah, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday for sure. And I'll probably stream sometime in between now and then. All right. So thank you guys. Have an excellent night. You guys know what it is. premedproductivity.com. Later.